Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Well, it's Monday. The weekend has passed, and, there's a lot of interesting water under the weekend bridge.
Yeah, boy. Just a little point of interest. Did you hear the latest news from the White House about their new pet German Shepherd?
Oh, no, I haven't heard that one. I knew all about his faux pas against the Italian prime minister.
Oh,
that's old.
That's old news, and she actually took that very well. She is a bright young woman,
yeah,
and she didn't embarrass him. She kind of, I think, knows where he's at. So, but
what he said was so insulting.
Well, tell me what he said.
Well, wait a minute. Let me dig up the notes here. He said something to the effect of, I may be Irish, but I'm not stupid,
Yeah. I heard that and I thought, wait a second, does that mean I'm stupid? Because I'm Irish. What a
He said he grew up in a neighborhood where he felt conscious that his name didn't end with an O.
Oh, God. He did that again? He's done that before,
Yeah, he did that, and then he talked to, I guess he threw out Jill's maiden name.
If he grew up in all the neighborhoods that he said he's grown up in, he would have been moving around on a daily basis. I mean, this guy said he grew up in a Jewish neighborhood, a Puerto Rican neighborhood, an Italian neighborhood, an Irish neighborhood. I mean, this guy is all over the place.
Yeah.
Black neighborhood.
He brought that Italian thing out.
Hey.
I married Dominic Giacopa's granddaughter.
Did he say that again?
Yeah,
No.
I'm just saying.
Oh, gosh.
And I don't be nice to me.
I don't think that was
this crap. I mean, I don't care if he said it once or a million times. He's a freaking racist. And he is an idiot.
He uses the same lines over and over and over again. But what I was going to tell you about, what you missed, was they have a new pet, a German Shepherd. The dog's name is Commander, and Commander doesn't just fetch. Commander sicks, meaning sick 'em. Commander has attacked the Secret Service on a regular basis. One of the Secret Service agents was bitten so badly he had to go to the hospital for treatment. And
that's cause to put the dog down.
Well, you would think so,
draws blood.
Yeah, but you would. They had another dog before. I think his name was Major. I could be wrong. Don't hold me on the dog's name. But they had a dog before, about a year and a half ago, that had the same proclivity. It enjoyed gnawing on Secret Service agents. And they literally don't want to be around the president right now because this dog, Commander, will attack you. And nobody is stopping this from happening, including the head of the Secret Service. You would think the head of the Secret Service would say, Mr. President, this has got to stop. The dog's got to be on a leash around Secret Service agents or be put in a kennel.
Well, why is it all of their dogs have a preclusion to hate Secret Service
Oh, that's
people?
such a good thing to say. I was going to get into that. That's very good. They say that dogs reflect their masters, don't they? I mean, if you're a mean SOB, there's a good chance if you have a dog, it's going to be a mean SOB too, And people have said that the Joe Biden we see in public is not the Joe Biden that they see in private. I mean, they say the guy in private has got a foul mouth. He's nasty to his staff. Not a nice guy. He's different in public. He tries to present, that grandfather image. But they say in private, we had a story about this about a week and a half ago, about how he was being tough on his staff. And, you would think that the Bidens would say, wait a second, we're going to get a trainer. We're going to put the dog on a leash. We're going to get a trainer. We're not going to let the dog meander around the Oval Office at its will. We're going to make sure that when the Secret Service are nearby, the dog is leashed. But they're not doing that. And some people think maybe it's Hunter. Hunter is he's living in the White House. Hunter is not a nice kid. I mean, I'm sorry. When you treat women the way Hunter Biden treated women, I mean, he would ship women in from other states to demean them sexually. I mean, for money, but still, I don't care whether you're doing it for money or not. You know, whatever it's a foul thing. You know, he would sit around taking videotapes of himself in a jock strap, literally. You know, like that was a big deal, like he was proud of it, and he'd be smoking his cocaine pipe, and no shame, none. As a matter of fact, you would have thought that at some point, at least while all of this turmoil in the White House was happening, Hunter would have made a statement saying, you know, I regret the kind of man I presented myself as a few years ago. I've changed. I've gone through rehab.
But he hasn't changed.
But that's just it, Bill. You're absolutely correct. He hasn't changed.
So how can you regret something that you were when you still are?
Yep.
You know, you can't do it. So he's a piece of crap. He was a piece of crap then. He's a piece of crap now. And
well,
you know,
I don't know whether this dog situation is going to continue. I don't know how it can. How can the Secret Service do their job and protect the president when they have to keep one eye on the president's dog? I mean, you're supposed to be watching the crowd, watching for snipers, watching for people in the crowd with guns and weapons, and also you have to watch out for the dog that the president has got next to him.
Well, you know, maybe it's time. I don't know if I should say that, you know, but, you know, you reap what you sow. Just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if you're a bad person, you surround yourself with bad things, events, and people, and you inspire bad things, you know, what happens.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we're going to see where that goes. We'll see whether Hunter's dog continues to hang around the Oval Office and attack Secret Service people. Oof. Yeah. I would imagine if I were a Secret Service agent, I'd be bringing a lot of yummies, a lot of dog treats into the White House with the hope that I would pacify the dog and he'd get to like me, as opposed to a dog like, you know, they've got. Can you imagine that? You're trying to do your job and the dog is attacking you. The other thing that happened over the weekend, I don't know whether you heard about this.
Yeah.
This was interesting. They had James Comer on Maria Bartiromo's show.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this one.
Yeah, well, Comer and Maria were talking about the testimony that Devon Archer is supposed to give today.
Yeah. And what happened, though, just prematurely 2 days before he's supposed to testify? The DOJ to the rescue.
Well, the DOJ did this on a Saturday.
Which is unheard of.
Yeah. I think it was a Saturday night or something, like when the mail usually doesn't get delivered. But they sent a letter to a judge, I guess, in New York. Anyway, I have the whole thing here on tape. Let me let James Comer, Representative Comer, explain it as he did yesterday on Maria's show.
Let me get to this breaking news. I have in my hand a letter from the Department of Justice that was sent to the Southern District of New York on Saturday. By the way, Devon Archer is testifying on Monday. Do you usually see the DOJ send letters like this out on a Saturday?
Never. This is the first time I've ever heard of the Department of Justice doing anything on a Saturday.
So what is this letter? Can you walk us through it? The government is apprising the court of the status of Devon Archer's appeal of his judgment of conviction, and they request that the court set a surrender date for the defendant to report to a facility. Please walk us through what this letter says.
Yeah, the letter from the Department of Justice is trying to nudge the judge to go ahead and sentence Devon Archer for something unrelated to what we're going to be talking to him about tomorrow. It's odd that it was issued on a Saturday, and it's odd that it's right before he's scheduled to come in to have an opportunity to speak in front of the House Oversight Committee and tell the American people the truth about what really went on with Burisma. So, you know, I don't know if this is a coincidence, Maria, or if this is another example of the weaponization of the Department of Justice, but I can tell you this, the lengths to which the Biden legal team has gone to try to intimidate our witnesses, to coordinate with the Department of Justice, and to certainly coordinate with the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee to encourage people not to cooperate with our investigation, to encourage banks not to turn over bank records, to encourage Treasury not to let us have access to those suspicious activity reports. It's very troubling, and I believe that this is another violation of the law. This is obstruction of justice.
That's James Comer, and it's so obvious that trying to throw roadblocks in the way of what's going on today. I mean, it's a desperation move on the part of the Justice Department, which is acting as interference for the president. They're trying to do everything they can to stop Archer
if that
from
doesn't
testifying.
Tell you that he's got them in his pocket,
under
his control to sit there and do whatever. And what would happen to this witness if the DOJ got its way, where they got locked up? Oh, I'm sorry, he can't make that appointment because he's in jail now. I'm sure his health would be very good while in jail.
I'm sure. Don't eat the food.
Don't be left alone in your room with a bed sheet.
Let's talk about desperation, because that's, I think, what we're talking about here. They're trying desperately to stop Archer from testifying. They're saying that the testimony that he does today is going to be, it's going to destroy the Biden administration. This is going to be, I guess, earth-shaking, what he says.
Well, maybe what they're doing is trying to sit there and throw this out there. They want to lock him up, but, even if they just intimidate him to shut up.
Well, it's not working.
Just shut up over there.
Yeah, it's not working so far. But, getting back to desperation moves, they charged the maintenance man in Mar-a-Lago, and he's supposed to appear in court today. Apparently, they're saying that President Trump made the maintenance man at Mar-a-Lago destroy the security tapes.
Oh, update on that.
I got an update on that, too. Maybe you have the same update. I'll let you give the update. Okay, what do you have?
It's very simple.
Okay.
The tapes were never deleted.
That's
so
right.
So it's a bogus charge and story. They made the crap up.
Yes, they did. It says President Trump said the tapes are there. They got them. There's no destroyed tapes. It's like, I think what they're trying to do is they figure if they can squeeze the little guy. I mean, Trump can't be intimidated, obviously, but if we can take the maintenance guy who probably makes, $70,000 or $80,000 a year at Mar-a-Lago, I mean, we can squeeze him really good. We can frighten him into testifying against President Trump. And then we'll have him by the cojones, as they would say in Mexico. I don't think that would.
I should have taken the radio name. I should have used the radio name Pedro Cajones.
Oh, yes, that would have been a great. It would have been big. You could work down in Tijuana.
I could have run for political office. Yeah, Mr. Cajones for Congress.
President Trump.
You got to have him.
He spoke in Iowa Friday night at the Iowa Lincoln Day dinner, and then he spoke at a rally in Erie on Saturday. I don't know how the guy does it. Thank God he has a beautiful airplane. It's like flying around in a mansion. He's got a beautiful bed in there, and he's got all the food amenities that a guy could want. It literally is more luxurious, they say, than Air Force One. I mean, it's like gold leaf here and gold leaf there inside this airplane. Whereas at Air Force One, it's a little more executive-ish.
Business.
Yeah, it's a little more business. Yeah, exactly.
But there's no business going on the damn plane now.
No, that's true. They're having briefings from Karine Jean-Pierre. Ew. Also, Trump was at the Lincoln Day dinner, and he said that, he said a lot of things. Let me tell you what he said. Let me play this tape here.
In the newest echelon poll of swing states, we're trouncing Biden by 7 points. In the big new premise poll, we're beating Biden 43-39, while DeSantis is losing to Biden 33-38. In other polls, I'm leading Biden by 6, 7, 8, and 11 points, while DeSantis is losing to Biden in all cases. I wouldn't take a chance on that one. I'm leading in the primary polls by 50 and 55% against him and others. And a poll just came out where I'm leading in Iowa. We love Iowa by 34 points. I'm leading in New Hampshire by 35 points. And I'm leading in South Carolina by over 30 points, and that's with two politicians running, as you know, from South Carolina, leading by substantially more than 30 points. And a poll just came out a few minutes before I got up here. And in Ohio, the great state of Ohio, we're leading by 52 points and beating Biden by 10 points. That's what we have to do. I'm the only Republican to win Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania in more than 30 years, and you have to win them. Nationwide, we flipped 200 counties that voted twice for Barack Hussein Obama, including an astounding 31 counties right here in Iowa. These are counties that never went for Republicans, and they went for me.
You know, and the thing about this is President Trump wasn't the only one speaking at the Iowa Day dinner. It was DeSantis.
DeSanctimonious. There you go. Yes, catch it on.
DeSantis was in the back room. I think he had just spoken, and a few other candidates for the presidency were there too. And you know, President Trump, when you get into a cage match with him, and I think he thinks of the election as like a cage match, there's no holds barred. It's like he goes after you. You know, think about 2016, what he did to Senator Mario Rubio. Was it Marco Rubio?
Marco Rubio. Yeah.
He called him
the hands.
Exactly, little Mario. I mean, he nailed Ted Cruz. And the thing that was interesting was during the presidency, they got to be pretty good friends, I think. I think that Cruz and Trump actually got along pretty well. You know, I'm sure that there are some scars, and it kind of hurts every so often to see some old videotape of those debates. But I think that it's a blood sport, politics, and I think Trump and Cruz and Rubio and the others, they all kind of know it. You know, and it was actually better for Cruz and Rubio to have a good relationship with the president during his presidency because they got more done for their state, you know. So it was.
And what Trump did, you know, he's the king of the barbs and doing things like that. And Rubio thought he had a great line there with the small hands.
I know.
And it came back to bite him in the ass. You know, everyone's, you know. You don't mess with the king unless you really got something.
Oh yeah, Don't tease the tiger. Do not tease the tiger.
That's how Trump really got him, though, because he drew him into his circle like a sumo wrestler, going, "Oh, you're in my circle now. See what happens to you."
Other things that went on over the weekend out in Wisconsin. Did you hear about this? There's a neo-Nazi group. They call themselves Blood Tribe.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they were marching. But see, a lot of people think they're actually a bunch of feds in disguise. They were at an LGBTQ pride event, Pride in the Park. You know, and I have to tell you another thing. Please, you know, you can have your rights. You can be what you want. Be all that you can be, as they used to say in the Army. Do whatever you want to do.
You can be.
Maybe what would be a smart move on the part of a lot of groups would be to stop with these demonstrations in the park and flaunting your sexuality at every public venue there is. Maybe you should just live your life and leave everybody else alone. Go about your business, and that's it. You know, don't have the pride parades knock me out because they say it's just demonstrating their proudness of being gay. You know, but then you see these guys prancing down the street, literally in jock straps. And in some cities now, I think Seattle last year, they were going nude, which I thought was an interesting approach, cut back on uniforms. They were going nude, prancing in front of little kids and saying this was they had this right to flaunt their sexuality. And I think that's wrong. I think that would be wrong if they had a heterosexual. Can you imagine if they had a heterosexual day parade and men and women were dancing down the street naked, flaunting their sexuality? The police would have wagons filled with dancers, naked dancers. They'd be taking them away by the busload.
I wouldn't want to be in that wagon.
No.
No, sir.
Neither would I. Neither would I. But the thing is, if you just reverse it, you'd say, oh, that's ridiculous. I mean, if people who were heterosexual did that, that would be awful. But if you're gay, it's a Pride Day parade. It's okay to prance down the street naked. It's great. Flaunt your sexuality. Be proud of what you have. I mean, it's amazing.
There's all kinds of pride news. And, I don't know that I even like to use the word pride, not as an insult against, people that are gay. If you're gay, but, being gay is a person that they're okay with the sex that they were born into. It's just they have whatever you want to call it, a deviation, a perversion, or whatever.
Their proclivity. They're drawn to people of the same gender.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
The good word. Yeah. Proclivity. But, what I have a problem with, okay, let's take California, for instance. Everybody has a beauty pageant, like Texas has a Miss Texas and California has a Miss California. And the first time in 99 years, a transgender is now Miss California.
Well, there you go. Well, it happened in the Netherlands last week, right? Netherlands, okay. Miss Netherlands was a transgender, a guy.
Okay. Now, I forget the person's name, but there's a transgender. I don't even respect the fact that you're a man posing as a woman, but you haven't gone to the completion. Well, that's because I'm a transgender.
Like Dylan Mulvaney.
Dylan Mulvaney. Yeah, he's a poser is what he is, but you got the swimmer now that has set more records than anybody
Leah Thomas?
By being a man. Huh?
Leah Thomas
by beating women out as a man.
I think he's like
a woman.
I think he's like 6'4", and he still has the shoulders that he's had all of his life.
And the guy that held records got beat by him because he's going, oh, I'm not going to get in his lane because that guy'd kick my ass. But over here, I can kick everybody's ass and take all these awards. And my personal feeling is, number one, think of that guy. Think of all the women, though. All the women athletes that worked hard, tried hard, and now they get this unfair advantage by a transgender that takes them down. They have been wronged, and they've been wronged by the sport that they compete in. That sport should be sued and paid reparations to.
We talked about this last week. The swimming officials have said, okay, there's going to be a separate category for transgenders. No more will transgenders be able to compete or be allowed to compete. I think it's World Aquatics. I could be wrong. It's something aquatics. Anyway,
you got swimmers, you got runners.
Yeah.
And if they don't straighten this out and take away those records,
but you know what you don't see?
To the rightful person.
You know what you don't see? I mean, if you want to be true about being able to play in all these different sports, then maybe women transgenders should compete in wrestling with guys. Or, I mean, if you're going to be stepping into other lanes, then step into other lanes.
But how is a woman transgender that says she's a man going to compete against a man?
But see, that's not the point. If guys who think they're women can compete with women, then women who think they're guys should be competing with guys too, right? Isn't that the way, in all fairness?
Well, yeah, but, it is not fair. I mean,
I agree it's not fair, but...
Look, you're talking about genetics there. I mean, it's even going on in the fashion industry. Now, there's a clothing company, I forget what it is, but they're all up in the air because people are up in the air because they used a fluid gender model. Mm-hmm. What does fluid gender means? It's somebody that's going, yes, I started out as this, but I've transformed to this.
And I may go back to this.
As I get older, and I might go back to this, but I could be this, that, or the other thing.
Yes,
let me explain something to the idiots here, that you cannot change the science.
Right.
The genetics are the genetics. You can get something cut off. You can get an ornament attached, but you're still what you were assigned at the beginning. You'll always be that, and that's how you should compete.
Did you hear about the transgender up in Canada? Who?
Sounds like a joke setup. Okay.
No. This is sad. This is a transgender who went through the vagioplasty, and apparently, the result of that was he lives in constant pain, or she lives in constant pain. I want to be fair. I don't want to. And this person has asked Canada to be euthanized, and Canada, I guess they have a board that considers applications for euthanization. They denied him. They said, no, you don't meet the qualifications to be euthanized. So we're not going to.
He'll do it himself, or
oh well, I was thinking the same thing, but some people maybe he figures he hasn't got the maybe it's just too difficult for him to do personally. He'd rather have it be done professionally. I don't know. I do not know.
Where's Kevorkian when you need him?
Yeah.
But you know what? People that are Christians going, that would never happen in the church. This transgender stuff, drag queen stuff, that'll never happen in the Christian community. Well, hold your Bible. Here we go. Bible Belt Baby. I just saw this. Number 1 on iTunes. Bible Belt Baby is a drag queen whose big hit is called Good Day. But number 1 on iTunes is a pretty big deal. Now, I would tend to say it's probably the, drag queen community, transgender community that's probably fought to make this go, oh, we can take over another, encampment.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go after the Christians. And they're number 1 Bible Belt Baby, though. I mean,
you're saying that
everywhere.
A transgender has performed the song, and this transgender artist has performed Bible Belt Baby on the Christian charts, and that song is number 1.
Darn right. It was released on October 6th of 2022.
Took a while to get to the top, that didn't. Holy smokes.
Not really. Well, yeah, that could be because there could be that they've rallied behind it. You can take something that came out at any time. I mean, there's a history of songs that were big songs out there where somebody said that song should have been number 1.
Oh, sure.
And then they get behind it and play it.
When I first got into broadcasting, 1967, I was working at a station on the Cape Cod, that is, not Cape Hatteras, Cape Cod. And I can remember listening to a song that came into us called Get Together by the Youngbloods. Remember that song? Yeah. And I thought, this is a great song. This should be a hit. And it didn't take off. It stiffed in 1967. 2 years later, they reissued it, and it went to number 1. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Sometimes you can hang around for a while.
Yeah, Sheriff had a song that way where some disc jockey said, that ought to be a hit. I'm going to take it because I have the power to do it and make that song happen. There was another song from the early 70s. I remember when I was cutting my teeth in radio, and it was an album rock station that I was at, and they switched the format. So I saw all these albums there. And I said, what are you doing with this? Oh, they're going to go in the burn. They go out in the dumpster. I'm going, no, they don't. So I had them. And then I found some songs. I thought, boy, those are cool. It was funny because about 8 years later, one of them, I said, I got that album. That's an old album that they re-released and made the hit. So, that happens.
It wasn't its time the first time. The second time was its time. I wanted to get back, if I could, before I forget, that in Wisconsin on Saturday, there was this Pride in the Park, and this neo-Nazi group. It's a new neo-Nazi group. Say that fast. Huh? A new neo-Nazi group.
New neo-Nazi.
Yes, called Blood Tribe. Was there in force. They picketed this Pride in the Park. And, I mean, they were doing it lawfully, although they were walking around in the same outfits that a group called Patriot Front, which was supposed to be a cover for the feds, if you know what I mean. It was like a staged group, a pretend group. Anyway, they had the same outfits as Patriot Front, and they were walking around with a Nazi flag. It was a swastika with a black background, white swastika with a black background, and they were chanting this.
No pedals on our streets! No pedals on our streets! No pedals on our streets! There will be blood! Blood! Blood!
No pedos on the street. No pedos on the street. There would be blood, blood, blood. Okay, that's what they were doing, but they weren't getting into a fight. There were no, there was no real problems. They were screaming a lot of things like that. And there were some people coming up and they were yelling in each other's faces, but there was no violence, thank goodness. But you got to wonder, where did these guys come from out of nowhere? As a matter of fact, somebody in the crowd said, what part of the government do you guys work in? And one of the guys said, I'm at the State Department. And he laughed, like it was a joke. And, you wonder, they just sort of materialize on a weekend at these different functions. They instigate and then they take off. And, is this something, should we look into this more? Should we actually try to find out where these people come from? Because we don't do that in this country. These guys show up, they cause a little trouble, they demonstrate like they demonstrated, looking like they're part of the fabric of our country. These guys don't represent anything that we really are as a country. Walking around with AR-15s hung over their shoulders and black shirts and a Nazi flag. Nazi flag. What organization would walk around with a Nazi flag? How would they think that would endear themselves in this country to anybody? Would you feel sympathetic about a group that walked around? The first thing I think of is repulsion, because of all that the Nazi swastika stands for. I mean, you think for a moment, it represents the concentration camps of World War II. It represents the evil and the vile that was Adolf Hitler. Okay, there was a time, I should point this out, where the swastika represented something completely different. During the days of the Romans, back in the in ancient times, the swastika stood for different things. It was kind of a revered symbol. But forget that. It doesn't stand for that anymore. Every time you see, especially in modern times, a swastika, the very first thing you think about is evil, vile. You think of death. My God, can you imagine if you were with a person with a Jewish background and you live in that neighborhood and see these guys walking down the street with a swastika? What does that say? Now, there's something more. There's a little more to this than we know. This is a showpiece. There's a reason why something and some people are doing this, and we should find out who they are.
It's psychological.
Yeah, we should find out who the heck these people are.
Yeah, it's a form of warfare, and it is psychological, and so there is a reason that they do it. There is an agenda, but I think it's the psychological effect to introduce fear into these people.
Well,
sad situation. Hear about William Barr?
Oh, yeah, I heard about this.
Threatens to jump off a bridge if Trump secures GOP 2024 nomination. Yeah. Do we get to pick the bridge?
I know. I mean, he didn't. I mean, if he jumps off like a bridge, it's like a footbridge. What does that do?
No. Let's put him in a Speedo. Nobody wants to see that, and get CNN and all the MSNBC and NBC and CBS there, and have him jump off the Golden Gate. I mean, it seems appropriate. He said he's the one that said it.
Yeah.
Come on.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. He is. I think first thing I thought of is if Trump gets into office, what dirt is he going to really uncover on a guy like Bill Barr? Because Bill Barr, in my opinion, is deep state. I mean, he's just, He's routed in the deep state, and Trump is he's gonna rip them a new orifice, if you know what I'm saying. And I think that a guy like Barr has got to be concerned, and I hope that if he decides to take a bridge, it's a good one. Maybe we can get television coverage. Also, let's see. Again, it's been a busy week. It didn't see much about the Ukraine,
No, well, there was some Ukraine news. I mean, obviously, over the weekend, they had the drone attacks in Moscow. They're doing the kamikaze drones and blowing things up. So they've escalated there. You've got Belarus that's claiming that the tactical Russian nukes are in their control. They're stored there. And, with the NATO threat, you never know what they might do. That was really comforting to read. And, let's see. Oh, there was this, they showed this massive ship. It's a drone ship, and it's a ship killer that's out at sea right now. It's brand new. It's just introduced.
Is it ours?
No, it's the Ukrainians. I'm going, where they? I mean, this thing is
the
massive.
The Ukrainians?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Where in the hell did they get this?
Yeah.
But it's a drone ship, which means there's nobody on board, just weapons to go out and kill and sink ships.
That's ours. I think I read about a ship like that we were developing. We have several of them already in this country, drone ships.
Well, then we secretly gave it to the Ukraine.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me. This guy is unbelievable. His administration, we are being led to slaughter. I fear for our country.
Oh,
I mean, we're headed towards World War III, friends.
And he's going to do it. Now, what was the one thing they used to sit there and pick on Trump? He's
a warmonger.
No, they used to sit there and say, he's out playing golf. He's always playing golf.
Oh, yeah.
He's had more vacations than anybody. Really? You really want to stick to that song in the choir for the Democrats? Because today, this past weekend included, Joe has taken 360 days of vacation. That's 5 days short of a year. He's only held the office for, 2.5 years?
Yeah, so he almost half the time he's been away on vacation.
He's been, and when he's here, it looks like he still needs to go back on vacation.
Rock on, Joe.
That's his beach dance. Here come the Cobra.
Oh gosh, here come the Cobra. By the way, that was his Secret Service handle when he was the vice president. And they would say, he liked, I guess, to walk around the vice president's mansion
nude.
Yeah. Oh, natural. The guy would walk around. I mean, he was obviously very proud of, his birthday suit. But I mean,
well, they have a vice presidential mansion. Apparently, has a pool, and he'd be laying out there. And he'd be laying out on the float with, it's all together. And that is it.
And they have female Secret Service agents. You know that. So
yeah.
But he didn't care. He doesn't care.
No. Cobra flaunts it for everybody.
Cobra's on the move. I thought that was
sad.
That was a great name for him. The beast. And there's so many things.
No, that's a flattering name. Because it's like you ought to see what he's got. Who cares?
Well, I think that there are problems with that family, and they didn't start with Hunter. I mean,
I was saying the same thing. I mean, they're sexual deviants, and she is too.
We just played a tape. We played a tape on Saturday, right? From from about Jill Biden's life before Joe. She was married before, and how she ejected her first husband like instantaneously to get into a relationship with Joe Biden. Unbelievable. And we can play that tape again sometime, maybe when we're away this weekend. But I think that we have an issue that I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know whether we as a country can exist for another year and a half with this evil guy in office. I mean, I don't want anything physically to happen to anybody. Please, I don't want that. But boy, if there is justice, you kind of hope justice prevails, because this guy is doing some bad stuff. You know, no one talks about. I heard a promo. I was cutting the lawn yesterday. I make a little deviation here from the. I was cutting the lawn yesterday, and I heard a commercial for Feed the Children or something like that. I forgot what the organization was, and their whole thing was to make sure that kids in poor neighborhoods had food. And I thought, wait a second. If we took all of that darn money that we're shipping over to that country, the Ukraine, for bombs and missiles and tanks and ATVs and all this other stuff, if we took that money and put a fraction of it into this organization, they would eat like kings for the next decade. You know, I mean, if we did stuff here with the money that we're pouring into the Ukraine, what a difference it would make. You know, why aren't we, the richest country in the world, taking care of our hungriest in this country? We should be doing good things in this country. There should be benefits to being an American citizen. And I say, by the way, American citizen. I mean, whether you are an immigrant who's come to this country and taken the courses and became a citizen, or whether you were born into this country, there should be benefits to being a citizen. There now are more benefits in the Biden administration to being an illegal in this country. Do you know that in New York City, they just signed a $450 million contract with a company, no bid, by the way, which I thought was interesting.
COVID, yeah.
No, yeah, right. A COVID company.
Yeah.
No, it's a no bid contract. That means that nobody had a chance to bid for this. They just pointed at a company and said, "We'll take you," and they're going to ship illegals all around the country, out of New York to other places. But they're not saying where they're going.
Are they going to infect them?
Well, you know, gosh knows, I didn't even think about that. A COVID company,
because they
illegals?
say there is a new strain of the virus coming, and what's around the corner? An election.
I
don't want to sit there and accuse anybody of anything.
Whoa, conspiracy alert. Oh, my gosh.
Didn't think of those two dots connecting, did you?
My mind didn't go there. But, you know, you think about it for a second.
Beautiful. It's perfect.
You can't put it past people to do stuff not like that nowadays. I mean, we just found out Friday that the Chinese had a lab, a big lab. Was it in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
I believe where they were working on COVID testing situations.
All kinds of viruses.
They found 900 dead white mice in this lab, and I guess they had all different types of infections in them. You know, and it's like, where are the controls? Somebody, by the way, in some high position had to know that was going on. I mean, if there's a lab in your district that's as big as this one was, it was the size of a building, you would think that somebody in like the police department knew it was there.
Yeah. Now, this is interesting, too. Speaking of Chinese, apparently Chinese malware found in various U.S. military systems.
Oh.
So maybe those balloons that fly over aren't there to gather surveillance.
Yeah.
They are to send down and invade electronics, and that's why they're near bases, too. Yeah, they want to get intel, but can they transmit something into a computer system?
Why not?
That's a malware, because the intent was for disruption and not surveillance. That, to me, is an act of war and aggression.
Yeah, why not?
Well,
but, you know,
it is.
And the thing is, the thing that I'll never understand about that, and nobody's explained it very well since it happened, but they spotted it in Montana, I believe.
Right.
It had just come across the Canadian border, and they followed it as it meandered its way over all these different high-security military bases. Some of these bases, it didn't just fly over them. It circled them a few times, and then it took off.
And
you know,
see, We thought they were trying to suck up information, but with that story
there, that could be. It could be. Drop a little virus into a government
gets down
system.
to the art of war. Well, if you can't take on the big fighting machine, maybe we can sit there and infiltrate it, and infect it with.
And when you have a government that is working hand in hand with your enemy, I mean, because there's no other way of being able to explain what happened. I mean, you can't say there was a justifiable reason for not shooting that down. I've heard them say, well, we were afraid it would fall into a populated area. Well, I mean, give the people on the ground a little warning and have them look up, and maybe they'll move out of the way. I mean, you have a pretty good idea where it's going. But the thing is, they let it meander over all these different military bases, and then when it was off the coast of South Carolina, somebody said, well, maybe now's a good time to knock it down. It served its purpose. It dropped, as Bill said, it may have dropped all of its different computer viruses and all of our systems.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Santa Claus, China Claus.
Yeah, gosh.
Here comes China Claus. Here comes
that's
China
the one
Claus.
we know about.
Yeah.
That's the one. How many balloons flew over our country and we never had anybody comment about them?
Hundreds, maybe thousands.
Yeah. Other thing that's going on in Chicago, the residents of Chicago are getting a little fed up with the illegals that are moving into their neighborhood, because they're not just moving into the neighborhoods, they are harassing and bullying the people in the neighborhoods they're moving into. Listen.
Many of these residents say they no longer have any tolerance for the disruptive behavior by those seeking asylum here. It's making them feel unsafe.
They disrespect us, they rob us, they harass us.
And their patience is wearing thin.
Let me say this. They got one more time to deal with it, because otherwise, next time they deal with it, they're going to deal with it from the streets. We're going to take over it. Nobody's going to be able to stop us from what we're going to do to them.
Much of the residents' anger was directed at city officials in attendance, including 20th Ward Alderwoman Jeanette Taylor, Chicago Deputy Police Chief Stephen Chung, and Family and Support Services Commissioner Brandy Kanazi. At one point, police had to intervene, breaking up an argument during public comment.
God bless those people. They don't deserve this. I mean, and it always seems to happen in the poorest neighborhoods in the city. They shove them into places where they figure, we'll stick them in the poor neighborhood, right? These people have a right to live in peace and with security. And when you shove all of these illegals into a neighborhood, you're just shoving trouble into the neighborhood. They don't deserve that. They pay their taxes. They have a right to live in peace. One guy said, "You do it one more time, and we'll be taking this to the street." When President Trump had, as we believe, had the election taken from him in 2020, I know there's people out there going, "Oh, there he is, an election denier." Well, I happen to think if it's the truth, you talk about it. I think it happened. But we talked about what happened in Brazil. Remember what happened in Brazil?
Yeah.
There was a guy named Jair Bolsonaro. He was the conservative. They called him the Trump of Brazil, and he was a shoo-in to win his reelection. Except, surprisingly to everybody, it seems like the same thing that happened here happened there. The election seemed to, for no good reason, go to a guy named Luiz Lula da Silva, and this guy Da Silva is a socialist. Oh, does that sound familiar? That guy, he's a socialist. And so over the weekend, he did something which the guys in Washington under this administration would love to do. He decided to control firearms and the sale of firearms. So the new law that he initiated prevents civilians from acquiring firearms and prohibits citizens from buying 38, 40 caliber, 45, and 9mm caliber guns. Also, they ban the purchase of semi-automatic firearms. I mean, if you have if you have like a 22 where you pull the trigger, bang, bang, every time you want to fire it, you pull the trigger, bang, bang, bang. That's called semi-automatic, and that's considered, that's a bad thing. Now you have
How fast can you make your finger go bang, bang, bang? I have, handguns. I have the handguns that look like, other things, but they're still handguns, and you got to go click, 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 and you only got 10 rounds at the most.
We fought wars, though, with where you had to use the bolt on the side to load a new bullet. A lot of guys got really good at it. So you hit the bolt, you pull it back, you slide it forward, and the new rounds, and you fire the gun. You do the same thing. That wouldn't be considered semi-automatic. But
under his rule, it probably is.
Well, that's true. That is Brazil, and it's different. But, so what kind of weapon will they allow? I guess they'll allow 22s. They probably will allow pellet guns.
Slingshot.
And BBs, in Brazil. But
I can, for $150, I can get an automatic BB gun.
What a waste that is. What a waste.
Well, I don't know.
That's like throwing sand at somebody.
I don't know. You get the hollow point pellets, you could do something.
Well,
but
pellets are different. Pellets are different than BBs. BBs are round. Pellets, what are they, 177 caliber? The little pellet guns, if you have enough pressure behind them, they can be dangerous. They can break skin. You got anything else you want to pass along there, my friend, before I jump into the next story?
Go to the next story. I was just going to talk about Maricopa County. Well, you know what? You're talking about elections, and they're saying that all the glitches that they had, with everything in the election, everything, it was the printer's problem, the printer.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
And
of course
and
it
the
is.
printing company is going, wait, stop this bus. No. But, they're going to blame it on anything that they can.
I'm so sick of Maricopa County. We had that counting after the election. They had a count. They had an audit of the ballots. It was on television. Everybody thought, oh, my God, this is it. We're going to prove that it was stolen. And they did an audit, and they showed that there were irregularities. And do you know what happened when they showed all those irregularities? Absolutely, positively nothing.
The big goose egg,
nothing.
It's amazing how that works. And by them ignoring the facts, they can go, "Where's your proof? We just put it in front of you." Oh, well, I didn't see that. Where's your proof?
Steve Bannon had an interesting idea. I think he's toying with the idea. Steve Bannon is toying with the idea of President Trump bringing RFK Jr. into his administration as a vice president, although he doesn't really know how that would work. Here's what he said.
The term, and you're going to have a flood of books and articles, the Atlantic's all over this, remember, the New Yorker, the Atlantic, they're the railhead of the thinking of the secular progressive left. So the reason we highlight there, when it's there, you see this starts springing up. They're all over. What's the term they're all over? Christian nationalism. Christian nationalism. A Christian nationalist is a domestic terrorist in their eyes. Yep. This is what they're going to be all over. And they're going to try to cow Christians from not just voting for Trump, but being associated in any way with Trump. That's all upon us. They understand in the coalition that we have in MAGA that the traditional Catholics and the evangelical Christians are one of the central parts, along with veterans and parents' rights groups and others, economic nationalists, populists, all that they're one of the center critical mass of our movement and the ability to return not just simply Trump to the White House, but to return their ideology to this government. If you think it's going to be easy to do this, it is not. It's doable and very doable. The hardest part is actually governing, winning the primary. If we don't fall into the Murdoch trap, if President Trump stays disciplined, his team stays disciplined, and do not fall into the Murdoch trap, because Murdoch's laid a trap out there for you to try to stop you, thwart you, or change you along to their neoliberal, neocon policies. If you don't take that trap, and then we stay maniacally focused in the general, particularly as, remember, the firestorm of the lawfare will start next spring with him. If you can walk through that, which you can do, you can walk through that fire, which you can do, and I think get 55% or more of the country. And I think if somehow it worked out, you could get Kennedy as a running mate, and I don't know, that is far from even technically can happen because of the structure of the Democratic and Republican parties and ballot access and all that. You can get 60% or higher in the country and win a massive landslide and bring the House and the Senate and really have a governing majority like we had in 16. To stop that, they debank, they deplatform, they shame, they make sure you're going to get fired, all of that. Think about how they would run this country. Go back in time to 2021. The hunt for domestic terrorism, and the thousands they're going to put in jail and everything they're going to do, debank people and deplatform people. Look what happened to Nigel Farage in England. Coots, the Bank of the Queen, and NatWest, both chairmen gone. Why? They lied, and they specifically went after him because of Brexit and his association with Trump and his association globally with the populist nationalist movement. There's nothing they will stop at because they're in a war to the knife for their own the promulgation of their belief.
Steve Bannon, people forget that he has a very successful podcast called War Room. But he was an advisor to President Trump. He's a smart guy. He's very politically savvy, and he thinks that I guess he's interested in a Trump RFK Jr. Candidacy. I don't know. I think that there are people in this coming administration. You have to have people who are totally on your side, who are totally going to back your efforts. There can be no equivocation, no vacillation. And I think there would be with RFK Jr. I like him. I think he's an honest guy. But, his views on a lot of things are different than mine. And I think they're different than Trump's. I could be wrong. I think somebody like a Carrie Lake. Are they
differences that could be, Carrie Lake?
I think a Carrie Lake who has shown her loyalty and her unity would be a terrific vice presidential candidate.
But is there room for coming together? Because the only way you can make something like that work is for the two of them to dismantle the Republican and Democrat Party.
That's what I
by
thought,
saying we're going to become independents. And yes, we will run together. We've worked out these differences to where certain things are on the table, certain things are off the table. And they dismantle what has become the woke.
Does it make it harder for them to be on the ballots in the 2024 election if they're independents? Do they have to jump through a lot of hoops with a new party or as independents? Right now they're Republican and Democrat. And they'll be.
Well, I think the Democrats and the Republicans would unite then and sit there and become the evil that they are and say they have no standing in these states.
Right.
They cannot run. They would
would
do that. But I think people would see that, and that's where we have been on the cusp of a revolution for a long time. At some point in time, something is going to tip the cart over and all hell's going to break loose. Hope not, but I'm just saying, who knows what it's going to be, when it's going to be, and where it's going to be, and what it's going to be over,
I think part of hell is freezing over. I want to tell you why. Over the weekend, something interesting happened. A contributor at CNN, a CNN contributor on State of the Union, actually went after Hunter Biden and went against other panelists. Actually kind of sided with us. Here's what he said. You got to hear. This is CNN.
But Scott Jennings, the president has made being a family man an essential part of his political identity.
It's not Republicans, with all due respect, who made Hunter Biden into a complete scumbag on this and other issues. The ignoring his own daughter for 4 years, and the President of the United States hanging up a stocking for the dog, and not for his 7th grandchild.
Okay, look, we can also have sympathy for people who are struggling with addiction. Let's keep this conversation respectful.
Listen, I totally agree. And you know where I'm from, a lot of families deal with addiction. And you know who ends up picking up the pieces? The grandparents. And in this case, the grandparents would not acknowledge this little girl. It is offensive. But the bottom line is...
But they have now.
Oh, what a hero. The polling must have been brutal. The polling must have been brutal. No one ever questioned.
I'm sorry, that host on CNN, someone should kick her in the gazinga framus, because she is such a shill for the left. I mean, she says you have to have sympathy for people with addiction. I mean, hey, cut it out. Cut it out. This guy has gone to rehab 11 to 12 times and failed, and he continues to fall down, and he continues to make a mockery of the White House. I mean, he's there. He's living there. We have a drug addict in the White House.
Anybody that treats addictions will tell you this: you got to want to you got to want help to get help. You got to want to get over what you've got to do it. So you can't feel sorry for somebody that doesn't care. Hunter's had plenty of opportunities to get well. He's been in rehab many times.
This Cassie Hunt, I believe her name is, the host at CNN, she had to interject. You know, when the guy said they won't accept their granddaughter, you know, and she interjects, well, they have now. Well, whoopee-doo. Whoopee-doo. Finally.
Have they really?
Oh, my God. Finally, after, like, the little girl's going to be 5, and they were getting a lot of bad press, so finally they issue a statement to the world that sort of says that they're accepting Navy, what's her name, Navy Roberts. They wouldn't let her use the Biden name because the Biden name was too controversial, and it would hinder her, they said. Oh, gag me.
That's BS.
Gag me. Hey, my friend, we've done it again. Another show in the can, man. If you want to get in touch with us, maybe as an advertiser, we're looking for the right advertising partners. You can contact us at 833-538-7868.
And there's mail at itsanotherday.com, mail at itsanotherday.com. We would appreciate you getting in touch with us. Although we are not manning the phone, sitting there all the time, it is automated, but we'll get right back to you.
Mm-hmm. Because we're that kind of guys, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to leave you hanging, you know? We're going to get back to you. So I know, Bill, all weekend long, you've been sitting around saying, boy, I really wish I could say my ending because it means so much to me, and I'm so good.
I stand in front of the mirror in the bathroom.
Do you?
Well, not only do I practice the ending, I also go self. You're a beautiful man, and the mirror agrees with me. It winks back and nods.
What a handsome man. I don't know where you came from.
I don't know where the cracks in that mirror are coming from, but it does tell me cracks at all.
Yes.
I think there are cracks in the mirror. It could be wrinkles or anything like that.
Well, anyway, this is your opportunity to express yourself as only you can. Have a great day, my friends.
Yeah, you too. Hasta la vista, baby. We are out of here.
The voice of freedom. CRN America. These days, when you want an answer about just about anything, you ask Alexa. You ask her about the weather. You ask her who won your favorite sporting event. You ask her to find a fact that you can't find anywhere. Well, we did that too. We asked her how many people have downloaded itsanotherday.com. And this is what she said.
From acceleration.com, it has been downloaded as much as 260,433,467 times.
I know. Seems like a lot. Seems like a lot to us too. But it's Alexa. Thanks for making us a part of your day. And tell your friends about itsanotherday.com. We could use an extra listener. I mean, what do you do when you only have 260 million?